Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Vatsangam Mahoraskam, Vanamala Virajidam, Shankachakradharam Devam, Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Shri Krishnaya Paramatmane Namaha. Om Shri Parthasarade Namaha. Hari Om. That's I bow to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe. I bow to the charioteer of Arjuna. Hari Om. So we can start the questions if anybody has questions. Oh, there's some questions. Okay. Oh, there you are, Refrain. I'm so glad. Rishabh, Babu, okay. Sai, Nirama. Hari Om Vanamali Mataji. It's so good to see you. Well, I wish I could see you too. Okay. Pranam. Any questions? Oh, Hari Om Krishna. Back I see. That's nice. Come on, you can start with questions. Otherwise we end up with a lot of questions at the end. I'm in Malaysia, by the way. Okay. And that's why you can see all the beautiful orchids at the back. Okay, Refika, well, 1 minute. Let me see this thing. I have traveled to a place before and someone I know and I'm close with has been there as well at a different time. Does it mean that we have a common past life connection in that place? And someone I know and I'm close with has been... well, everyone that you meet has some sort of connection with you. It may be a very slight connection, maybe a strong connection, but anyone we meet has had some sort of slight connection with you at some time or other. Okay. Madhu, you're thanking for the science called Hinduism, all the knowledge of us and other dharma. I'm glad, dear. You must thank Vanamali. He's the one. I'm only a typist, remember? Only an instrument. And Vanamali does everything. Oh, I'm happy to see Nitya here. Hari Om, Rishabh. Ma, is it best to start our morning sadhana by appeasing Ganesha? Ma, if so, what is the best method of doing so? Yeah, Ganesha is always the very start of any puja of any deity. Because he's the one, as I said, who can remove all the obstacles in our path. So how to do it is very... Oh dear me, what happened now? How to do it is very easy because... where are you now? Where are you? Yes, you just have to... You may not be able to break a coconut to him in physical form. But mentally you can break a couple of coconuts to him and said, Shuklam Bharadram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chadurbhujam Prasanna Varadan Dhyayet Sarva Vigna Upashantayet. That I will write it down for you later, okay? It just means, Lord Ganesha, please remove all the obstacles in my path. And mentally break some coconuts to him, okay? Okay. Miss Yuma, my question for you is regarding sacrifice. Can we sacrifice on personal duties for family partner related duties? Now, this is a very double-edged question. The fact is that it depends on what the family and partner related duties are. If there are very, very important things which only you can do for them, of course you should put them first. But if it's something which it is only part of your, something not that important that you alone should do it, then you can also take up your personal duties. Because I would always say personal duties are first. Because if the person is not there, and if the person is unhappy or physically or mentally, then naturally your other duties cannot work, isn't it? You have to be in a very fixed state of mind before you can do duties to anyone else. So that's a very important point which people forget. They work themselves to a bone and they become very angry and sulky and they retort and quarrel. Well, how is that going to help the other person? So we can, to only a very small extent can you sacrifice personal duties. But once you are in physically and mentally strong, of course then you have to do your family and partner related duties. Is service the highest purpose of our life? This is a very strange question coming from you. Because what is the highest, according to Sanatana Dharma, liberation or moksha is that is union with that infinite divine partner who is the cosmic partner, who is the sole partner for every human being. So that is the highest purpose of our life. But in order to get there, in order to reach there, you have to do service, no doubt about it. You have to, but the purpose should never be forgotten. What are you doing service for? Otherwise, you're just like a donkey who's carrying, the donkey is asking, is carrying these heavy burdens, is that my duty in life? He doesn't know anything else. But you know. So if that, in doing that service, you are getting closer to that high purpose, which is union with that infinite, then of course, service has to be done. But never forget, first of all, the goal has to be fixed. And then anything else which takes you towards that goal can be considered service. Mataji, I see many spiritual books referring to the sweetness that accompanies japa. I haven't found it yet. Is it something which comes after time naturally, or should one strive consciously for it? No, not at all. It comes, it's like asking, oh, I can't find the sweetness of this apple. Now, how does it come? Where does it come from? And is it to be found after eating the apple or while I'm eating the apple? So, the sweetness comes while you're doing the japa. And if your mind is wandering here and there, thither and thither, looking for things which you think may give you sweetness, naturally you don't get it from japa, isn't it? If your mind is running away to some ice cream parlor when you're eating the apple, the sweetness of the apple becomes much, much less than that highly sugarized ice cream, isn't it? So it's the same thing with our mind is wandering here and there. Therefore, it is not concentrated on that japa. You do not realize that japa or that mantra which you are chanting in the japa will take you to the highest, and that does contain everything, but it needs some patience on your part. You understand? And you have to focus on that. Not focus your mind on something other than that. When this focus is there, slowly but surely, that sweetness will come to you. But everything comes with patience. It is, growth is always very slow. In nature, growth is very slow. However much the mother wants to see the child, she has to spend over 9 months in the womb before the child comes out, isn't it? And however much you want the flower to bloom, no amount of blowing on it or trying to pricking it, poking it and trying to open the leaves, that will not give you a good flower. So have patience, continue with it, and remember that eventually it will come. As Gita says, this is something, sadhana is something which is like poison in the beginning, but like bliss at the end. Whereas other delights like drugs and drinks and gluttony and so on, it is like it's bliss in the beginning, but in the end it is like poison. So you have to strive for it and remember what your goal is and keep towards it, and then surely it will come one day or other. Vanamali Mataji, in last week's live, someone shared their dream of Lord Ganesha and how they could pay obeisance to him. When dreaming of you, while you are dreaming of me, Obviously, you cannot pay obeisance to me, my dear, unless you are having some sort of a drama with me during or in between your dream. So, so it's not possible, because in the dream you're in a state of consciousness. You're not in this state of consciousness. In that state of consciousness, you can't consciously do something. It just comes. It just comes as according to your previous desires and so on. It comes. So, if you want to pay obeisance to me, you should wake up and write me a sweet letter, as you're always writing to me. I get lovely letters from you. So many lovely letters. I can thank you. Really thank you for them, because it's so nice to get your letters. Okay. Ma, Sri Rama and Lakshmana had to do penance for killing the Brahman Ravana. Ma, what does this teach us about dharma and karma? Well, you see, the fact is that even if you are God himself, or very highest of all, yet the killing of a Brahmin was considered very, very wrong, because of one reason. Main reason was they were the custodians of this knowledge. They were the ones who, in those times, why was that sect or jati called Brahmin ever created? Only that they could learn every single thing that we have in our dharma. They were the custodians of all the teachings of the rishis. So they had to be looked after by the kings, really speaking, because normally they did not have much to sustain themselves. They were not supposed to make money out of this. They were only supposed to give this. Now Ravana, on the other hand, he was not. His father was a Brahmin. He was a rishi, but Ravana was the progeny from a demoness, from a Rakshasi. So he had both these qualities, you see. But he also, his father was a Brahmin. Therefore, it just teaches us that now, of course, they don't care, no, because Brahmins are not Brahmins anymore. They only have the name Brahmin. They are not Brahmins anymore. But if they are true Brahmins who know the Dharma, ancient Sadhana Dharma, and who are humility with humility. They're compassionate and humble. Such Brahmins, we should always, if we do harm to them, we should do something to compensate for that, because otherwise that karma will revert back to you. It's a bad karma, it will revert to you. But as I said, today, to find a true Brahmin, who is a Brahmin? He said, he says one who is not only very erudite, but also full of humility, is what Krishna describes. Such a person is not only erudite, but full of humility. Now, Ravana was very erudite, but certainly he did not have humility. So it was only part of a Brahmin. But even then, they are saying, because the very important, without that particular caste, I won't want to call it caste, without that jati, our dharma would not be here now today. And we don't even know what a lot of writings there are in our Vedas. So much there is. Many of these things have already lost to us forever. There are 4 shakas which were there, and out of that, the Atharva Veda, half of it is gone on. They're found even in places like Germany and so on. So we don't have any more people who are Chaturvedis, for instance. Some of the Brahmins, when you say Chaturvedas, they knew all the 4 Vedas. Where do we find a Brahmin who knows like this? Trivedas, who know 3 of the Vedas. Dvivedas, who know 2. So, Brahmins who know all the Vedas, who have all knowledge at their fingertips, are very, very rare. But if you find such a person, and if you hurt them by any chance, definitely karma will catch up with you. Therefore, it teaches us that we should be careful, polite, and as I said, even if the man is not a Brahmin, if he is filled with erudition and he is filled with humility, such a person should be treated with great concern by us. If we do harm to such a person, we'll certainly incur a lot of bad karma. Yeah, anyone else? Vanamali Mataji, do animals understand each other when they communicate? For instance, is the bird's chatter understood by non-birds? Exactly. Houses. Sometimes I think they are, because especially in the jungle, the house domesticated animals, are not that capable of understanding. I feel, because they have taken on so much of our characteristics that they have lost that inherent ability to understand other creatures. But definitely in the forest, for instance, when a tiger or something, leopard or something is spotted far away, who are the first who will see it? The birds who are there, and they will chatter, and they'll give pass the message immediately, and it will be caught up by the monkeys and be traveled down to this thing, and the deer will be told about it, and they all quickly, the whole forest will shudder into activity, because the one who's the predator is coming. It's just they have certain methods by which they transmit this. And not only that, it's a fact that even trees can transmit certain things. For instance, if a tree in a forest, if a tree is being cut down, when it's cut down by the in olden days, or sawed even, then there are obviously the methods by which they communicate to each other, because you'll find same trees along that line, along that in the forest, they immediately, their leaves will kind of shut down like this, in the hope that they may not be cut down when because the man who cuts down a tree, he's a predator as far as the tree is concerned. So even they can actually understand. And we also could understand this before, but now I'm afraid we have totally lost the ability to understand what is meant when the birds chatter in a certain manner. They do, sometimes the crows especially. They are very capable of imparting certain things for us. And many other animals also. They know when the storm is coming, and when a what do you call it, an eclipse is coming, or when there's any sort of this thing like earthquake, for instance. They know it, and if we are capable of understanding a language, we will also be able to realize that something is going to come, some disaster is going to come. And people who are attuned to that will always understand this message by the animals. How to reach that fixed state of mind? Only by practice, and more practice. Because mind is the very word, the mind, what does it mean? It is a river. It's a river of thought. So how to dam that river? It's very difficult to dam the river. You can only stop its flow. That is to say, by stopping its flow, it doesn't mean that the thoughts don't come completely or stand still. It's not that. It's that first of all, meditation, what you try to do is to single point that these many thoughts which are in, like a laser beam, for instance. When light is going everywhere, there's hardly any power to it. But when it's passed through as a laser beam, it can cut glass, or it can create has a lot of power. Similarly, that mind which is single point and focused, that has a lot of power. So it's not that you totally remove all the thoughts, but make it single pointed. Okay. Anything else? So, any questions? Glad to see you all. Yeah, oh, I'm so happy to see you here, Ganga. You made it today. Okay. Thank you so much, Vanamali. Okay. Any questions? Hurry up with questions, otherwise we won't have time. Krishna. Mataji, I read about Kunti's prayer to Krishna to bless her with more trouble so that she always remembers him. Does one have to go through so much of agony to attain Bhakti? Well. See, to attain anything in the world, I mean, let's not even think of spirituality. To attain anything in this world, we have to do a lot of work. If you want to become a great violinist, if you want to become a dancer, if you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, anything, how much of study and how much of practice do you think you have to go through? Isn't it? Lot of it. How much of this, even the student, even who just wants to pass a 10th class exam, they have to sit up and read and learn and by heart all this type of nonsense which goes in the name of education. There are a lot of effort has to be put in before they attain that, isn't it? So in Bhakti also, we are tested. It is not easy to attain Bhakti. In fact, it is said that Jnana is easier to get than Bhakti. Because Bhakti is this attitude of mind, a state of mind, in which your thoughts are constantly revolving or running towards one particular aspect of that Creator which is so appealing to your heart. Isn't it? So, it is very difficult. It is difficult only in the beginning, maybe it's a bit difficult. But once you realize that there's nobody or nothing that is as wonderful or as great, that aspect of that divinity, when you realize that everything is done by that aspect, and that everything you even think of is done by him alone, then the bhakti becomes very easy. But as I said, the path to also anything is a little bit difficult. Yes, it's a little bit difficult. So you have to go through all these things a little bit before we can attain him, because we are mortals, we are human beings. We cannot, just because if I think, the mind thinks, oh, I must have bhakti for Krishna, it doesn't mean that immediately I have bhakti for him. Isn't it? You have to go through certain troubles, and sometimes he tests you also. Krishna is a very, very, most of the deities, they're very playful in that respect. It's not that they want to trouble you or they want to torture you, but they're playful. So, game is always, in any game, the harder it is, the more we like it. We don't like easy games like Ludo or something like that, Snakes and Ladders. We like, more difficult games as we grow older. So, similarly, as we grow older in spirituality, these deities you'll find play little games with you, which makes it a bit difficult for you. But remember that always that deity is always there for you at any time. And once that becomes your color of your whole mind is that alone, you realize things that become very easy. There'll be no more problem after that. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Any other questions? Woody, why do we have to struggle to know ourselves as the infinite? I always feel stuck in my ego. This seems like a silly game, the universe. All your questions are so delightful. Okay, why do you have... Because we are finite. We have to struggle. Finite always... At the moment, you think you're finite, isn't it? You think you are inside this little finite 6 foot something or a 5 foot something, with whatever hair or whatever eyes or something. You are, this is me, you think. Don't you think that? So this is a finite creature. So naturally, if you want to realize that you are not really finite, you are infinite, it's a very difficult thing. It's not that easy. So the ego is not totally at fault. The ego is not totally at fault. The ego is there, but the ego should be... Where does ego come from? My ego, your ego, all our egos are only refractions or reflections of that cosmic ego. That cosmic ego is what gives us our feeling that I am also something great. Every person will say, I think I'm something great. Where does this idea of my greatness come from? It may be a beggar in the streets, he's got no clothes, he's not even properly, he has, not even properly fed or anything. Yet he thinks he's the greatest. Where does that ego in him come? From the cosmic ego, because it is him. That cosmic ego is he, actually. And it knows that it's great. However much the world tries to prove to it that it's not great, it still knows it's great. Because it's coming from that cosmic ego, which is all and infinite and eternal and all encompassing everything else. So, the ego is not the fault at all. The thing is, your ego has to be bloated to reach the infinite ego, to realize that I'm not just this little, tiny little ego, which is enfolded in my 5'6" frame with a purple thing round my body. No, that's not it. My ego reaches to the infinite ends of the cosmos, which is endless anyway. That realization you should have. When that realization comes, then you know that you are nothing but that infinite. So this is not the ego. That is, the ego has to be the idea of the ego. That this is my ego. There's no my ego, his ego. There's only one ego, and that is the cosmic ego. We are all refractions of that. So it is like letting go, so that let the balloon blow up. When you let that hydrogen-filled balloon, when you release that string, where does it go? It soars up into the infinite sky. Similarly, your little ego will soar up to the infinite cosmic ego when it realizes that I'm not being bound by this little physical frame. I am infinite. I am the cosmic person. I can reach him now if I need to reach. Okay, so it is. Of course, it's a little game, but it is a very interesting game. One of the most interesting games that God has ever given us. Okay. Mataji, in your personal experience, do you feel the collective consciousness of this world to be rising towards goodness, or? Well, sometimes it depends on where I am to be truthful. Sometimes when I'm in very, very negative places, like the airport, when I came in here in the airport, I certainly felt that the collective consciousness was being degraded. But sometimes when I'm in temples, or when I'm walking in a field, or or even if I'm walking in a crowded street, I look up and see that some formation of these clouds and so on. Then I feel that collective consciousness is rising. But the fact is, this is not our problem. What happens is not our problem. We may be sensitive towards it, but don't take it on as our problem. Our problem is to make one's own consciousness reach the very highest. Because even if there's one bit of shining light, it can take away the darkness of a whole room. You go into a dark room, and even if you don't have electricity, you're carrying one little lit diya, and you go into a dark room in the morning before you light the lamps for the Lord, and you'll find the whole room becomes lighted up. So what is a collective consciousness is a collection of all these numerous lights, and many of them don't have light at all. They're just in the darkness. So what we have to do is to make our lamp, our little diya, so bright that it will dispel the darkness of all many people, or many things around us as far as possible. And if there are so many little lights like that all over, what happens? Only then that collective consciousness will start rising. So that is our beauty, actually speaking, and it is not our duty to judge whether this is rising or going down. That is not our business. We are not in charge of the world. We are in charge of ourselves and around us. What we are, our surroundings also become. So you try to raise up your little light so that it brings a beautiful light all around wherever you are, and you will find that you will be part of that divine consciousness, and we will be able to influence many more lights by just that one light. Okay. How very fascinating. Thank you. Okay. According to Vedic system, there are 4 castes: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishya. They choose all of them in the category of Brahman only. What do you mean by that? And then you were using the wrong word. Caste was never used by us. Caste was something used by, it's a Portuguese word, which was used by the British to try and, the obvious way they ruled us was divide and rule was their system, how they did everything. So all of them, what is the category of Brahman only? I don't know what you mean. Everything comes from the Brahman, of course, if that's what you're meaning. Everything comes from that Brahman. There's nothing in this world, not even the Chinese worm, which is apart from that supreme consciousness. So, and as I said, they're not castes, they're jadis. They were the method by which the social system would be kept at its peak performance. That is, I have written about that, you better, because it's quite a big topic. We can't answer that suddenly. How to find a guru? Maybe you have met him, or we might in the future. How do you know? If you actually meet your guru, you will know. You will know. Somehow or other, it will be shown to you. Because I don't think there is much doubt. But of course, you may make certain mistakes. You may choose someone and then find out that, this is not the person. But normally, once you do meet someone who is your correct, so you feel very certain that this is the person for you. So it's an intuitive thing. You don't judge, because externally he may be acting like a normal human being and doing things which we seem incomprehensible to us, and which we may not even approve of. So it's an intuitive thing. You don't judge externally. Mataji, please give us some practical tips as how to practice karma yoga in our everyday life. The best and most practical tip has been given by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. Karmanye adhikarastu ma bhaleshu kadajana. Karmanye adhikarastu. The universe has given you only one right, and that is to do your duty. The universe has given you only one right, and that is to do your duty. So whatever your duty is, that is all that you have to do. And you have to leave the result of that action in that cosmic hand, because anyway you are not in control of it. So it's the most practical tip that he has given. Keep on doing your duty as an offering to that Supreme Being. Not for personal aggrandizement, or not even for the sake of the person for whom you are doing it for. You do it as an offering to that infinite being. If you do that, and without any thought of what you may gain out of it, then that is karma yoga. That's how you are practicing karma yoga. So every day when you do, your mother is old and needs help, you go and help her with something. You do it for what? You're offering to God. That help which you're giving your mother, you're offering to God really, not just to her. So because when you think that I'm doing only for my mother, then you will say, then she should show me some kindness, she should show me some love. All these things come. But when you think that I'm doing this for that infinite being through my mother, then it's all left the ball is in his court. He will give you your just results or your just deserts, okay? Same thing happens with job, studies, everything. Yeah. In Gita, Arjuna calls Krishna as Achyuta. I want to know the meaning of Achyuta. Achyuta means one which does not fall. Achyuta. Chuta means to waver, to do like wavering. Chuda. And it can easily fall. Because it's wavering, it can fall. Achyuta. And the example of Achyuta is the anvil. I don't know whether in olden days when you had when they wanted to pound corn or wheat or rice, they had a very, very heavy granite pillar like this with a hole in the middle. And the grain was put in that, and they will pound it like this, pound, pound, pound. But if that granite pillar was a shaky one, which can fall, then all the pounding in the world was not going to make that. You realize? But that was very, very, very firm. Achyuta. It will never shake. It will never make you fall. It will always give you full support. Once you catch hold of that Achyuta, that is why Arjuna called him Achyuta, because he had caught hold of him and he knew that he would never let him fall. However much the hordes of the Duryodhana's armies were there, yet he knew that he would never let him fall. So that's why that particular word is used very often. Yeah, anything else? What is Jnana Yoga? Okay, yeah, that's quite a big question, but very simply I'll say it. Jnana Yoga is to find out who you are. Jnana Yoga is Advaita, you can say, I don't know whether you know Vedanta or Advaita, but Jnana Yoga is to find out who am I. Now this seems a very easy question. If somebody asks you who you are, you will say, I'm Shweta, I'm from India, I'm 5 foot tall, I have black hair, black eyes, brown eyes, or fair skin or dark skin. You will describe your body, isn't it? But is that you? Is that you? That is not you, because when that body is constantly changing, what your friends which you had in school, when you meet them when you're 50 years old, they may not even recognize you. But you have not changed. You feel I am I. I am Shweta, the same Shweta I was when I was in school. How is that possible? So obviously you are not that body. So then who are you? They might say that am I the mind, because mind is a very important part. Then again you will find the mind is constantly changing. Then are you the intellect, which is more firm? But the intellectual opinions I had as a young child were not what I have now. So that's all changing. So I am something which is never changing. Eventually you realize the I which I am seeking for is an unchanging existence. It cannot be just this body, mind or intellect. So who is that I? That is a question which was asked by the rishis of old, and were answered, the Upanishads answered it again and again and again. So that is called Jnana Yoga. The understanding who the real I is. Who is this real I? Beings who are self-realized, did they also struggle in their human avatar, eventually realizing they are that? Of course, yeah. Everybody has a certain amount. Once you come into this human body, that's why Krishna says, this is a place that is, if you want to call each a planet, this is Dukkhalaya, you can say. He said, Dukkhalaya, he said. This is the alaya or the abode of sorrow. So once you take on this human body and born into this Dukkhalaya or this abode of sorrow, of course everybody has to struggle. Only then they realize that unless they are on the brink of that realization already, and for some reason they die and they take another birth, in which case their amount of struggling is much less. But even then, that struggle is there. After all, they have to go through 9 months shut up in that uterine compartment, all twisted and this thing, and spending almost an hour coming through that narrow uterine passage. Think of the pain of all these things. And then it may be that sometimes that is all the karma that they need, and the child dies the moment it's born. Very often you see that. So that must be some realized soul who has finished off all his karma by this 10 months in the womb and the struggle through the uterine passage. So we can never know how their karma is. But once the human body is there, you have decided to come into the human body, there's sure to be a lot of problems and difficulties. Yeah, how much more time do you have? I don't know. No idea. Okay. Hari Om. Yeah, any more questions? What's the connection between sadhana and breath? Can we deepen our sadhana by slowing down our breath while chanting? While chanting, your breath will naturally deepen. Because breath has a connection with everything. Without breath, we are dead, no? Just try holding your nose for some time. How long can you hold it? So breath has a connection with everything. It has a connection with sadhana. So why do we always say practice pranayama, at least anulom vilom, before starting meditation? Because the mind is very closely connected to our breath. And by doing pranayama, the mind naturally becomes calmer and calmer, and it slowly slips into meditation without any difficulty. So you can definitely do pranayama before meditation or before chanting also. It will help you to control your mind. Let's assume that, for once one has attained oneness with the universe, and now he thinks of whole cosmos as a family. Not just the first family, the biological family expects previous versions of you. The expects, okay. See, the biological, when you have attained a state oneness with the universe, of course he thinks of the whole cosmos as a family. And even though the biological family expects previous versions, still the fact is that you cannot give them special preference. Now, I'll give you examples of this. In many places we will see that, when Krishna's father asks him, my son, I think of you as my son. How is it that I cannot see you as this? So he says, it's all right, father, thinking of, but expand your consciousness to realize that everybody who sees your son, in which case you will have reached the highest. And again, so it's not just that one son of yours which is your son, but you expand it to see that everyone is my son. For the father, that is the type of advice he gave. Then, what about Gautama Buddha? Once he got enlightenment, he just could not accept that he had only one biological family. I mean, that's absurd, isn't it? He could not think of that I belong only to my biological, in which case he should not have left them at all. So an enlightened person somehow just expands himself so that the entire world is his biological family. I mean, it's his family. Of course, not biological, but it is his family. Now, in the life of Christ also, you find this interestingly enough. When his mother came to see him, when mother came to see Jesus, and one of the disciples went and told him, my Lord, he said, your mother has come to see you. And he says, who is my mother? Who is my father? This is how he answers them. So these people have become cosmic people. They don't belong to just one family. The family may think of them as belonging to them, but they don't think of themselves as belonging to one family. They belong to the Vasudeva Kudumba. They belong to that family of Vasudeva. Ma, please explain about fasting. Fasting is very necessary for good health. That's the main thing about fasting. Because the one organ in our body which never ever gets any rest is the stomach. Isn't it? All other organs get some rest but the stomach even during sleep does not get rest, because most of us are guilty of eating very late in the night. And so that while you're sleeping, the poor stomach is busy trying to digest the food you've eaten just before you went to sleep. The idea is always that we are asked to eat earlier because we can digest before you sleep. Then you get a good sleep also. So that is why fasting at least once or twice a month is recommended by every religion, and because it gives a rest to that digestive system, which is the most overworked system that we have, and which is absolutely necessary for us to keep good health. So that's why in Sanatana Dharma we advise taking a Ekadashi fast, which comes twice in a month. So that is a very important thing that clears all the debris and all the rubbish which you have collected for that one whole month. It's very important. Pranam Mataji, how could we know that we are on right path? Usually, if you don't know, you can ask someone who's on the way. when you feel that you're not on the right path, what do? You go to ask someone, do you think I'm on the right path? So if you can find your guru or something like that, then you can ask him, do you think I'm on the right path? And somehow the fact is that the very idea you have that I may not be on the right path means that perhaps you are not. Because when you are doing the right things in the right paths, somehow there's a feeling of pleasantness. And this has been proved by science also. When I forget the names of all these things. They have certain names to describe some melamine or tetamine or something which released when we have thoughts of love or thoughts of something which is released. So, and also the vibratory distance difference. There is a difference. When we are doing something good, something is released in us. And modern science has also explained that. There are some, things which are released apparently, which make you feel good when you're doing good things. So, if you are doing right sadhana, you will feel good about it. But still, if you have doubts, you should consult your guru. And Mataji, sometimes I struggle with my mum's expectation of living according to prayers and rituals dedicated to Allah only. While I don't want to upset her, it also creates resistance within me. My dear, they are all brought up in one certain method only. They're like they're being blinkers and walking. The blinkers have been put on to them from the time of birth. Do not try to argue with them. Don't try to. It's too late. It's too late. You can only pray for them. Don't, because then you also become unhappy. Now that is her karma. She was born in that particular religion. Let her go on to the end of it. Let her die happy, thinking that she's been doing the right thing or according to her dedication and to her ideas of what is right and wrong. Let her go along with it. At this last stage of her life, don't try to change her, and because that will be a struggle for you also. So don't struggle with yourself. Just pray for her, and she will have a better life. Maybe if you pray for her, your child's prayers are always useful. So these people have been born with these blinkers that only Allah is the correct, only Jesus is there. So what can you do? It's not their fault. But as I said, this last stage of life, unless she asks you, who knows what people's karmas are. It may be at the very last minute she may ask you for something or other, in which case you can tell her something. Otherwise, do not upset her. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I've missed out some things, I think. I can't get back to it. Okay. Through your Namaste Ma, how does one refrain from reacting to rude and abusive words, even though your spiritual practice has been strong and you have the discrimination not to take it personally? So that if you have the discrimination not to take it personally, so you're not reacting. So it's a very good thing to do. You're already not reacting. You just, you see, if you, there's a very good idiom in this thing, that if you spit, look at the sky and spit, where does spit come to? On you, isn't it? You look at the sky and spit, the spit comes back on you. Same thing. Now, when people are using rude and abusive words at you, they're spitting at the sky. Because you cannot use that on any person, because we are all divine in our essence. So, that is the discrimination you have. Let them do it. That is their karma. If you react to it, then you take their karma on your own head. So don't do that. Let them do what they like. Let them do. That is their karma. Okay? Thank you for answering, Vasudeva. Okay. Ma, how can I know that I found right girl as life? That's a very difficult question, dear. That's a very, very difficult question, because, especially for a man, because girls are very, very volatile. No man can ever know a woman totally. They never show their characters to everyone. So it's a very difficult thing. But There is, you may think you have, outwardly you should see whether she likes the same things as you like. And if you are a spiritually inclined person, you really have to find out if she is also spiritually inclined, because otherwise you are asking for trouble. It's very, very difficult to, if you are spiritually inclined and you go and marry a girl who is totally unspiritual. So that is one of the first things you might have to find out. If that is there, if that basis is there, that is something which bonds you together. That you both feel that you're in on this in a spiritual way and not just in a physical way. So that once that is there, you will find a lot of difference. Okay? Okay, dear. Mataji, 3 or 5 books which every spiritual aspirant must read to get inspired according to you. I would certainly say, please read all the Vanamali books. So you can go into the blogs and see what other books you like. Most of the Vanamali books are meant to inspire you. So we've written on all the great avatars and also on the science called Hinduism and everything which we will. And I know many people who have written to me how by reading one of these books they've transformed their lives. So I think the Vanamali books will be a good way to transform you. If you need transformation, that is. Okay. Hariom. Oh, Shri. Yeah, Hariom. Nice to see you. Wonderful to see you and hear your wisdom. Many thanks. I'm so happy you're listening. I want to call you. Tell me by WhatsApp what's a good time, because my sister is very anxious to talk to you. Okay. Is that over? I think, how are we off for time? I have no idea what the time is. So maybe we're almost through, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Only 3 minutes. Okay. 3 minutes. Any other questions which can be answered in 3 minutes? There doesn't seem to be any more questions. So we will hopefully, if I'm around here or anywhere, we will have another session, live session next Sunday at the same time. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? No questions. Okay. How to get Ma? Sometimes there's some complete surrender, but sometimes I don't feel complete. But also at the same time, freeze. Can't take action towards my goals. How to recognize difference? Oh, okay. Ma, would you like to get? Oh, there are a lot of questions. I knew this would happen at the end. This always happens. How to get rid of jealousy? Now, jealousy is one of the basic emotions of all human beings. Very, very difficult to get rid of it. Very difficult. It's a basic human emotion. Even the great rishis, as you will see in the reads their great lives, they had some jealousy. Vishwamitra, for instance, he was madly jealous of this one. What's his name? Vasishta. So it's a very difficult jealousy, but only through grace of God. You keep on praying and thinking good things about that person. Try to find out the best part of that person about whom you are jealous of. Again and again, when you're jealous of something good in him, try to see more good things in him and try to cultivate that same type of goodness in you. Then only the jealousy will go. Ma, sometimes I feel complete surrender, but sometimes I don't feel complete surrender, but also at the same time freeze. Can't take. These are all tamasic things. They're in a way that's tamasic. When tamas overcomes you, you feel that you freeze. You just can't make an effort, can't do anything. So at that time, best is I strongly advise you to take some physical exercise. Run out, go out to the park and run or walk. Walk is even better. Chanting all the time. You chant and go, take some physical exercise. That will get you out of that freezing thing because it's a very tamasic state. What is the difference? How to recognize surrender and laziness? That's what I'm saying. This is not surrender, it's laziness. When you kind of when you freeze and you don't want to do anything. It is not real surrender. It's a side of laziness. Exactly what I said. It is tamasic attitude. Ma, like you told us about karma, does it make sense to give birth and get more humans on? Well, that is why do you get married then? The whole idea of marriage actually is that to create a more. Otherwise, humanity will end, isn't it? If people more and more people get married without getting children, as it is happening now, humanity will come to an end. And I'm afraid only the what do you call it? The Hindus are going to come to an end, because whereas we produce maybe 1 or 2 children, the Muslims are producing 20, and because they marry 3-4 times. So it is very important that you should bring out a child which is a boon to the society. We are going to run as Parveen has started this beautiful course by which mothers are told what one has to chant during their pregnancy. That is postnatal and prenatal and postnatal advice on children, because the actually education of the child begins in the womb. It is our, once we get married, it is our duty to give to that cosmos one perfect human being which we can produce, and the parents can do it if they take certain precautions and have a certain attitude. And we are running a course on that actually, so you can contact Parveen about this, and she will tell you how it is done. Ma, what do you think about online yajnas? I don't think at all about them. I think they're very bad. It's quite absurd. See, what is the whole point of the yajna? That fire. Now, it's like saying, what's your opinion of online pan chewing? You chew a green pan leaf, white chuna, and blackish this nuts, and what you get? A beautiful red lips, isn't it? Can you do it online? Yajnas are the same. We have a beautiful fire there where the smoke of certain types of things are there, and the rice and the ghee and the things are put in there, and that enhances the whole atmosphere of that place. How can you ever get it online? So people just don't understand what the whole thing about. That's why they have these stupid things called online yajnas. Okay, I think we're through. We're already time, I think. Yes, Ma, I will also talk to... okay. How to convince parents for spiritual path. Don't bother yourself with convincing them about spiritual paths. If they are spiritual, they will be convinced. If not, you continue with your own path, okay? Don't try to unnecessarily, because parents never like to listen to the children in any case. Okay? So don't try waste your time in that. You do your own spiritual practices. You don't have to waste time over them. If their time is right, they will listen to you, or somebody else will come who will convince them. How do we know who's our deity? Actually, it will come into your mind somehow or other, because it is not something which is from this lifetime, it's from many lifetimes. If having basic emotions makes us human, how do we control these emotions? You are not supposed to control the emotions, but you're going to raise them to their highest, their cosmic proportions. As I told you, considering your child as only as consider the enlightened soul sees the whole world as his child, isn't it? So you enhance them to their cosmic proportions. Ma, how is it possible to see good things all the time in a person? You cannot see good things, of course, all the time. It's not possible. I never said so. So that is not the criterion at all. The criterion is to see, but all of them will have some good things, isn't it? Nobody will be totally bad. Even a hardened criminal, just see how he behaves towards his child, or maybe his mother. So you try to find out those good things in that person. All the time you will never find such good things, okay? And we have, the time is up, I'm sorry. Okay, what do you think about ISKCON? I think it's a very good thing, and he has done something great to the whole world, if not, not to India, but to the whole world. He has done great good by bringing out the idea of giving the world the idea of a amazing cosmic person like Krishna. Okay, dear. Okay, dear. So here we have to stop now, and because time is up. I think it's 12 o'clock in your part of the world, and it's 2:30 in my part of the world. Thank you all very much. So, Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhave. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Hari Om.